Today, we're tearing down and looking at the gears of a short story that is just a masterclass in modern horror. It takes old folklore, drops it into this super remote town in Iceland, and just cranks up the tension until you can't take it anymore. We're going to look at exactly how the author pulls it off, from the setting all the way to that final terrifying reveal. So let's dive in.
Right from the very first sentence, the story just hits you with this deeply unsettling tone. It's not just talking about birds. It's framing these ravens as these ancient, intelligent beings with one single, terrifying goal. They want to be human again. That hook just immediately plants this little seed of dread in your mind.
You know, any great horror story needs a killer setting. And this one uses the Icelandic town of Ísafjörður just perfectly. The environment here isn't just some pretty background, no. It's an active character in the story, and it is full of these wild extremes.
I mean, just look at this duality. In the summer, you have this constant, almost unnatural light. But then winter hits, and the town is just swallowed by a relentless, oppressive darkness. This world of extremes creates this built-in sense of instability, you know? It feels like the normal rules just don't apply here.
So on the surface, this place looks like a paradise. It's got green energy, all the modern comforts, amazing scenery, what's not to love? But then the story slips in this one critical detail, a single set of power lines. And that is such a classic horror setup, right? The beautiful isolated place with one fatal flaw just waiting for something to go wrong.
And here is where things get really interesting. The story brings in this piece of local folklore, the legend of the Utbirth. This gives the ravens a backstory that is both tragic and just so creepy. Suddenly, they're not just smart birds. They are the literal spirits of abandoned babies crying out for a mother they never had.
All right, so let's get into how the story so masterfully builds suspense. It doesn't just throw the horror at you. Nope. Instead, it uses these cryptic little warnings from a local to just slowly dial up that feeling of dread. So the first time we hear it, it's from Carla, the narrator's boss. And at this point, it's pretty easy to just brush it off, right? For the narrator and for us, it just sounds like some quirky local trying to spook the tourists. It's a little weird, but you don't really take it seriously.
But then she says it again. And this is such a brilliant use of repetition. The second time, her whole tone changes. There's this genuine fear in her voice that completely transforms that quirky little phrase into something way more sinister. You can't just laugh it off anymore.
And then she drops the bombshell. The real horror here isn't about people dying. Oh no, it's so much worse. It's about them being replaced. They vanish during blackouts for just long enough that nobody gets too worried, and then they come back wrong. Their memories are gone, their personalities are erased. This idea of someone you know being replaced by an imposter, that is such a deep, primal fear, and the story just nails it. And this is it. This is the story's big turning point. All those warnings, all that foreshadowing, it all comes to a head when that one single power line finally gives out and the darkness takes over for real.
Okay, let's walk through this moment by moment. First, bam, the lights go out. We're talking total, absolute darkness. Then comes the knocking, and it's not a normal knock. It's described as pointy and sharp, like a beak. The narrator is only saved because they can't find their phone's flashlight in time. But then they see it happen to someone else. Trevor, across the street, answers his door. This shadowy figure unfolds something like wings. And then, just as fast as it started, the backup generators kick on, and it's over.
The aftermath is so simple and so chilling. In those few seconds of pitch black darkness, Trevor just vanished.
That open door is just this stark, silent proof that something terrible just happened. And what's the only clue left behind? A single black feather. It's the creature's calling card. It's the one physical thing that connects this terrifying event directly back to all of Carla's warnings about the ravens.
So, just like the legend said, Trevor comes back. But his return isn't a relief. It's the most disturbing proof you could ask for that Carla's horror stories weren't just stories. They were a literal warning.
I mean, the change is just night and day. The guy who left was this loud, bubbly, kind of annoying Texan. The thing that came back is morbidly quiet, has somehow picked up an ancient Icelandic accent, and can barely speak English anymore. It's wearing Trevor's body, but it is not Trevor. And just in case you think the narrator is going crazy, the story brings in an expert, a local farmer named Frida, and she confirms it. Trevor isn't just speaking Icelandic, he's speaking an old dialect. This adds this terrifying layer of objective fact to this supernatural nightmare. Okay, so this brings us to the story's incredible climax. Remember, the narrator secretly recorded Trevor's mumblings. And when they finally get them translated, the payoff for all this suspense is just absolutely terrifying. So the first translated line. After slipping on some ice, the new Trevor doesn't swear or cry out in pain. He says this. He's surprised that his new form is so clumsy, that it can fall. It's the kind of thing something would say if it was used to, well, flying. And there it is, the gut punch. The direct, horrifying link back to the Utburther legend. After hearing his mother's phone ring, the thing inside Trevor doesn't recognize a phone call. It hears the cry of a mother that it has been searching for centuries. It thinks it's finally found a parent. And finally, this, the most chilling line of the entire story. It's a direct threat, a promise whispered on that recording. The narrator wasn't just watching a local horror play out. No, they were being scouted. The ravens who watch were done watching, and they were ready to make their move.
So what do? You run. There's no thinking, no packing. You just get out. The narrator's escape is just pure, frantic survival. And that final image, looking back at the town just in time to see the lights die again, it's absolutely haunting. It means the cycle is starting over. Someone else's door is about to get a sharp, pointy knock.
This story is just such a perfect example of how you can use ancient folklore to create truly modern horror. It taps into our deepest fears of the dark, of being replaced, of the unknown, and it leaves you with this one final, nagging question. What if the things we write off as myths are actually just waiting for the lights to go out?